From distant lands we gather, hearts of fire all along. Oh, big cause we follow through the storm and through the fight. For Valhalla we will borrow strength and might under moonlight. Warriors of the ancient sea, songs of glory dark and bold. In the night, our spirits free, legends born, tales unfold. Oh, big because we follow through the storm and through the fight. For Valhalla we will borrow strength and might under moonlight. From horizons wild we roam, with thunder in our soul. Every battle brings us home to the stories ages told. Oh, big Nick, cause we follow through the storm and through the fight. For Valhalla we will borrow strength and might under moonlight.
Hey, yo, folks. It is Sunday, usually my complete day off, but I can't put this off any longer. 3 times before, I have been trying to get through this damn HTC McLeland interview. And it just ends with me being pissed off and frustrated and saying stuff I have to edit out. Now, you have heard a bunch of words in the previous 3 points. That's, folks, that's the edited version that you got to see. Where I put out first, I put out all the all the pauses, all the I'm out of here, and all the things, and then the really bad curse words. And still, I'm surprised that those 3 were still monetized. But as I said, I need to finish it because I have a feeling that we are starting to get more stuff out there, more evidence, more things unsealed, and so I need to finish this so we can get on with the other stuff that I suspect is about to, So here they are. This is roughly where I ended last time. I'm playing this, I believe I recorded this in 1.5 speed from there. But yeah, let's just get on with it, I guess. And just in case, folks, that I get a copyright claimed on YouTube, the link to my Rumble is pinned on the top of the chat. I think if this go dark, go over to Rumble. All right, folks, are you ready? Oh. Are you ready? Let's go.
Really, to me, that crying reaction is you're afraid she's going to react in a way that she doesn't love you anymore. She doesn't like, I mean, to me, that's so that, that's ingrained in us. And so, I understand that.
Yeah, and it's especially true for someone who's diagnosed with dependent personality disorder, which he was.
All right. Here's the discrepancy, folks. a person like Rick, who is diagnosed with dependent personality disorder, is an extreme introvert. Now, are there examples of extreme introvert who also decides to, hey, I'm going to end people? Yeah, but not this type. This type are the type who, unless they get an absolute amazing woman like Kathy Allen, they are the people who get involved with female abusers. These type that, because I actually checked that out with dependent personality disorder, are rarely, if ever, prone to violence. So no, Mr. Fat Fuck, because I can say it because I'm fat myself. No, you're wrong. You're simply bad at what you do. And I suspect you do say what you say and do what you do because it fits your predetermined narrative that Rick Allen is guilty. Therefore, everything he does and have done in life points in that direction, instead of independently evaluate what these things are.
By multiple psychologists that took the stand. For someone with that diagnosis, one of the worst fears they have is rejection, especially rejection by people who love them.
Sure.
And I want to say that it was both the defense's psychologist as well as Dr. Wall and his own. Everyone agreed with the dependent personality disorder. That was one thing that seemed to be something everybody agreed on that assessed him. So, day 13 in trial, I do have a question. In cell videos, so cell videos of Richard Allen were played. There was no audio.
Yeah, nobody is surprised that there is no audio. You know why? Can you guess why? Because if they played audio, they might have heard the guards as well, in my opinion. Now, they might have heard other inmates, but that would be very, very bad for the prosecution's case. So they played it without audio, even though the defense wanted.
Well, I have multiple questions about the incel video because we weren't able to see it. The jury could only see it. So first off, I want to know what it was. And then secondly, I want to know why there was no audio. Like, was he confessing in the audio, or why was no audio allowed with the videos?
Let's see what the answer is.
Yeah, let me answer the second question first.
Okay.
It's a little easier.
Okay.
I just don't think there's audio. It's just a camera. It doesn't record audio.
Okay.
So there wasn't any reason why it wasn't on there. Just there is no audio. It's a camera in the middle of the cell. It's behind a glass for protection, so people can't, whatever. And so there's just no audio. So that's the easy part.
I don't believe this is correct. Well, it might be correct that the camera installed was without audio, or if they changed camera, or if they simply turned audio off, because almost every surveillance camera manufactured today and the last 10 years have audio built in to record audio. So in this case, either it was muted, or they edited it out completely before they handed over to the defense. So he's not wrong because I believe his answer is quite evasive. Because he just don't want to answer, we removed it.
The other part, kind of already answered. It's just a picture of him in his cell. The camera's in the corner of the cell, and it views him in the cell.
Okay. What was the jury seeing on those days where the incel video was being shown? Like, was it? I mean, I've heard a few things. Something about maybe a spit mask over him.
Well, those were the other. There are two videos. There's incel videos, and then they also videoed him when he was transported from the cell to doctor's appointment, psychology appointment, whatever it was.
So while he in between, well, they put him in a spit mask, because the claim was that once he spat on a guard or something like that. Yeah, that's the claim. But if that was the claim, do you know what happens if you spit on a guard? That will become one of the charges. That will become one of the charges. And I heard a meow. Mr. Jingles? Gubben? Yeah, come here. Come down. There you are. Hello, Mr. Jingles. Did you scratch your ear? Yeah, I know you scratched your ear. We're probably in a fight, and now I have to clean it every... No, don't scratch it. No, don't scratch it. Yeah, Mr. Jingles was probably in a fight or tried to get out through a fence or something like that. So now I have to clean his ear every now and then. Now, where were we? Yeah, the spit mask. And was it necessary? No, I don't think so. It was for pure humiliation, in my opinion. Because, well, it's easier to break somebody down if you humiliate them first.
So they're two separate videos. So that the incel video, they were just seeing him in the cell, and they were seeing all those actions that the defense brought up that they thought was evidence of him being psychotic. So the feces incidents, I can't remember all the incidents right now, but
yeah, somehow these fucktards believe that banging your head against the cell wall until you are so injured, you shock other people, eating your own feces, and many, many other things. Nah, that's just pretend. If that happened outside of prison or jail, you would be regarded as psychotic. The reason why they say, oh, it's probably not. I remember a reference that, well, so many do this. Yeah, maybe it's because a lot of people with predetermined psychotic tendencies get a psychotic episode in prison. Maybe it's that. Have you thought of that? You three... Jesus Christ.
they were the videos the defense believed gave weight to their stance that he was psychotic when he gave these confessions. And so that there were videos, there were snippets of instances they...
Do you know what happens if you put Haldol in a person who is not psychotic? Injuries. At many points, permanent injuries, because then it's not treating something to get back from a psychotic state. Now, all of this, how these three... Now, I understand why Mr. McLeland tries to argue this. And I also why Shiny Face Woman tries to argue this. But fat fuck over there apparently is a licensed psychologist. And he just sits there. And I can bet money he knows exactly what Haldol does to a person who is psychotic and to a person who pretends psychopathy. He knows exactly. And he still goes along with it. He still goes along with it. Haldol, and I've said this so many times, was Soviet Union's favorite mind-altering drug. That's how they first imprisoned people in the Gulag. Then they had a pretend trial, and before that, they got them on Haldol. So they were easier to draw out confessions from. Easier to just say to them, repeat after me, I did this. And in this state, the Haldol days, they would just repeat it. It was written down and then presented as evidence. Does that ring a bell? That most, if not all, of this inmate, guard, Dr. Walla, all of them were written down. Then you have, of course, the phone conversation with Rick Allen and his wife, his mother, attorneys. Were he really alone when those happened? Or did he have somebody beside or behind him? We don't know. We don't know.
They had picked out. I mean, obviously, he's being recorded 24 hours a day. You know, he's in jail for 2 years.
You absolute. Again, here he is, lying. The defense picked out. They were ordered by Judge Gull to only have a few. The defense wanted to play more or less all of his psychotic from start to finish, to show the jury, look how the degradation, the psychotic, here it start, here it accelerate, here it's still ongoing months later. But no, they weren't allowed to by Judge Gould.
Years, can't play all of it. They would pick out snippets that they thought were important, just like I picked out phone calls I thought were important. We couldn't play you all the phone calls. There were hours and hours and hours, 700 phone calls, and most of them are 20 to 25 minutes long. Can't play all those. And so the defense picked out the videos they thought were important to support their stance in the case.
Yeah, they were ordered to pick them out. You lying sack of shit. You pretend Commissioner Gordon. They were ordered to. They didn't want to pick. They wanted to show more. But you and Judge Gold decided, no, you're not allowed to. You lying cunt.
And so that's a pick play.
Okay. There were some things that you wanted to show that Judge Gold said, no, you can't do that, ruled against you. One of them was of interest to me, was something that happened with Richard Allen in Cass County. So after he'd been moved to a different facility, because there was a lot of controversy over the other facility, what was it you wanted to show?
There were a lot of controversy over the other facility. Yeah, the other facility, if shiny face lady, those controversy was what led Rick Allen to these false confessions. If any of them actually happened, all we have is Dr. Wallace's word for it. How she wrote it down. And that's the controversy with malnourishment, with rotting food with maggots in them.
In trial that you got, it was nixed. You couldn't show it.
It's a good word. I can't comment on it since it wasn't allowed in evidence. I really can't comment on it. It was obvious. I mean, it was video of him in Cass County, and we thought that it was something that would benefit the jury to show as demeanor. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, I respect you can't say. I'll share what I've heard it is. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it is. And you argued, some things in court that I also heard, but that it was of him threatening the guards, of him being violent and threatening violence, and even threatening with possibly the use of a knife or a sharp weapon. That's what I've heard. No comment. Okay.
I'll give you the very low answer that I appreciate your opinion, and that may be what it is, but I can't comment on it right now.
Cherry picking. And what happened before that convenient recording? After, 14 and 15 months of abuse? What did the guards do to him? We don't know.
There were, on that issue, by the way, there were certain law enforcement officers that took the stand who talked about it. There was no video supporting it, but they mentioned, it seemed like, I don't know if you can answer this, Nick, but it seemed like, based upon some of the testimony, even at sentencing, that there were comments about this pattern of aggression in jail that Richard Allen had over a period of time. Is that
against himself? Pattern of aggression, 95% was self-inflicted. Those 5%, I would assume, is provocation. But we don't know. One of these things we simply don't know.
Would that be an accurate?
Oh gosh, I just shouldn't comment on it since it wasn't admitted into evidence. You know, after the
Okay.
appeal comes back, the door opens up a little bit to be able to comment on some of the things that didn't come into evidence. But
Yeah.
at this point, I don't want to get myself in hot water, and so shouldn't make any comments about it. It was not allowed in evidence. I don't remember specifically what the witnesses said or what I even argued at this point. So whatever they said is out in public. You can obviously say whatever you want about it, but I just probably shouldn't comment on it.
Fair enough. Thanks for letting us try to push you, but yeah, we don't want to cause any problems for you. Why do you think Libby took that video? Because you commented on the video a lot actually during trial, and we started out with this video here in this interview. You actually got emotional right away.
Mhm.
Why do you think
You
Libby
didn't
took
get
that
emotional,
video
you
that we've now
sack
all
of shit.
seen? We've seen
Yeah.
the whole thing now only recently.
It does make me emotional. I don't know why it still does to this day, but it just does. I think because when I view that video, I know those are not the very last moments of their life, but very near the last moments of their life. And the video makes it real for me. The photos, I can kind of separate myself. And I know this is weird, but I just kind of can. There's still images and I can kind of just separate my emotions. But when I see that video and see, the two girls there, and I think it's affected me more now since I've had kids. I know it has. And, I can see my two girls out there just enjoying the day. And so it does. The video really.
Yeah, Mr. McLeland, you now have kids. And it might be that he is very, very convinced that Rick Allen did all of this. For the rest of us, with a functioning brain, there might be people out there, or there is people out there that were involved in this, who are somewhere in the vicinity of your kids. Maybe you should ask your masonry friends. Or maybe they'll just, we would never.
I mean, try not to get emotional now. It really does mess with my emotions, and I don't really know how else to say it. I can't crawl on Liberty's head and tell you why she took the video. The only thing I can comment about is common sense, is that she thought something wasn't right. Why would anybody in that moment pull out your phone and try to film this guy? She sensed something.
Yeah. Why did she take that video? We really don't know. Maybe it was because something was going on. But again, I will say this, and I said it when I did my reaction to it. I don't hear any panic. I hear girls who were already going somewhere. I hear a person, maybe it's Bridge Guy, maybe it's another guy, who just tells them, yeah, if you want to go there, it's down the hill. Maybe they talked about it earlier, maybe they didn't. But I don't hear panic. I hear a video where they are talking, where they already had a goal of going somewhere.
Something wasn't right. We all have that innate ability in our bodies to say, okay, this makes me uncomfortable. Something is afoot. Something is not right. And so I don't really know why she did. I mean, thank God she did. Who I am in court is pretty much who I am in real life. And so when I say stuff like,
who you are in court is who you are in real life. You're a liar. You're a cheater. You're unethical. You're a bastard. You're a cunt. That is who you are. Thank you. Thank you for admitting this.
when I say in closing that her and Abby are the heroes in this situation, help solve their crime, I believe that. I just truly and firmly believe that. And so I don't know why she did. I'm glad she did. The only comment I can make is that she thought something wasn't right. She knew or felt something bad was about to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I do agree that they are the heroes in this, and they did solve their own murder. They really did. And they kept the phone safe, and I don't know how they did it. Honestly, I don't know how they kept that phone safe either.
Yeah, that's another interesting, because the phone showed elevation. Elevation is upwards, not downwards. Elevation. That's the meaning of the word. Yeah, Zachary says here, amazing how clear guys down the hill is while we listen to static for 8 years. Yeah, once we get what really bothers me is the lies that the public were told for 8 years. And then all of a sudden, the video became public. There was never any need for any enhancement, neither in the video or in the audio. If you listen really carefully, you can hear it all. The whisper before the talk, the guys down the hill, we hear it all without any enhancement. And still, that's what we were told it was, enhancement. In my opinion, what we got were alterations, not enhancements.
Like, that blows my mind too. Taking the video and then making sure that video was safe the entire.
Safe. Well, we don't. That's the thing. We don't know why would you, if you're trying to have the phone hidden and safe under the boot? How? That doesn't make sense. The doctor treating Rick in prison was communicating with Dr. G on his YouTube. Yeah. Dr. Walla with Dr. G. It would be. Dr. Walla was a true crime freak. She wanted in on this case. Maybe she wanted to write a book. Maybe she wanted to star in her own movie. Instead, she was thrown out of the prison system. And that the defense weren't allowed to tell the jury. After all of this, after how she conducted herself, the prison said, "Nah, we don't want you anymore." They threw her out. So yeah, how did her phone end up where it was? I don't know. I honestly do not know. I wish I knew, but I don't. I barely have a theory. Entire
time are two separate heroic feats, in my opinion.
I agree.
So I have so many questions here. I'm looking and going like, where do I go next? Are you good, John? John will just interrupt me if you have anything, right, John? Or do you have something you want to say right now?
I just want to jump in with just talking about how personal that has been for you, Nick, and how you talked earlier at the beginning about how you
can't be personal. If you are personal, you make mistakes. If you get emotional, you make mistakes. If you get this amount of what he claims emotionally invested, you should have the ethical responsibility to recuse yourself. Because the moment you get emotional about something like this, you need to be out of there to have somebody with a level mind taking care of stuff. But do I believe he's emotional? Do I believe anything of what he's saying? No, I don't. I believe he was very, very glad that this was his first big case, because now he will be assistant DA or DA or whatever forever, because he solved the Delphi murders. Yeah, and he also ignores the Flora 4, just like his predecessor. Yeah, Gigi here used to be working in the prison system. And she says, for the prison to throw her out, she must have been horrid. Prison and jails hire medical staff who can't get hired anywhere else. Yeah. Now, Dr. Walla was hired by a company that was hired by the prison system. And to my knowledge, she doesn't even work for them anymore. I don't know what she does anymore. I don't really care. I hope she's poor. I hope she has debt. I hope she ends up homeless.
Negotiate all these different roles like victim advocate, and you're not just a prosecutor, you're everything.
Also, extremely bad if you by yourself call yourself the victim advocate, the prosecutor, and everything around. No, those roles needs to be completely separate, because then you form a bias if you try to put on all of these roles. And even if you do, need to learn to separate them. There are other employees in that county that could take on, but
I guess my question is, and this has been a hard trial. I mean, I think you must have been the target of a lot of animosity from a lot of places, right? Like, I guess the one question I'm interested in is, how has this affected you personally? What's the personal impact been? How have you negotiated that?
It's not easy. I mean, this, it's not easy. You have to try to, I guess, separate yourself from it a little bit. It's, in the moment, I'm very focused in the moment, and I'm focused on the conviction. So, during the investigation.
Focus, Freudian slip. Focused on the conviction. Hear that? Focused on the conviction. Your role as a prosecutor should be, what is the truth? But here he says it out loud. He was focused on getting a conviction and nothing else. He wanted to win. Fuck the evidence. Fuck the victims. Fuck the victims' families. You wanted to win. It's out. More or less, that is what he's saying when he was focused on the conviction.
I'm focused on, okay, let's solve it. Let's find out who did this. Once the arrest is made, I'm focused on the conviction. Really, during that time, what affects me mostly is time away from my family, time away from my girls, spending nights here instead of at home. That's where it really starts to affect me. But the gravity of the case, I'm just so focused on what I have to do to get to the end. Now, afterwards, it is tremendously effective. Afterwards, you allow those emotions to kind of flood in. And I think that's why I get so choked up now and I didn't during the trial. Although you'll see, Lauren didn't know me, but I had to stop at one point during the closing because I was getting choked up.
Yeah, I remember that moment.
And so it's in the trial.
Which is also called theatrics. If you do that in closing arguments, that affects the jury.
I'm able to separate my feelings enough and just be able to get the job done. Afterwards is where it's really, really, so after the conviction, during the sentencing, when I allow myself to kind of let those emotions go. And so I don't know, it's affected me. I'm more emotional. There's no doubt now. There was one hard part during the trial where we showed the crime scene photos to the family the day before we were going to present in court. And that was to see their reactions.
Yeah. According to people who were in the courtroom, this was one of few things they actually showed everybody. The crime scene photos, instead of just showing it to the jury. Many things were only shown to the jury, but some of the things were shown to everybody because they wanted to show it.
Really, really, really affected me. It really hit home. And I'm glad Jim Luttrell did that part because I don't know if I could have done it. It just really hit home to see people that I knew and that I'd grown attached to affected in that way. Gets to me now, sorry.
Fuck you.
So I don't know. You got to take time and sorry, cut this part out. But yeah, it's made me super emotional since the conviction and since the sentencing, and you allow yourself to kind of feel those things.
Oh, he gets super emotional and gone. Super emotional and then boom, gone. Remember another person who did exactly that? Amber Heard. Super, super emotional, and then gone.
But during the time, I was just able to separate myself. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but I guess those are my comments.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think you're fine. You're good. Thanks for being so open about it. I think you're showing us right now how hard it's been and how personal it's been. And I
It is.
appreciate your
And
your
I
openness.
spent a tremendous amount of my life working on
Yeah.
this case, and
Yeah.
so it is, you become emotionally attached to it. So, yeah. And I guess the comments I made before, when I see the video, kind of takes me back and it makes me emotional about it. And I wouldn't go as far as it's PTSD or anything like that, because I think the people that have PTSD mainly are armed forces girls and guys. I mean, that's PTSD. The things that they go through and the things that they see in real life, that's PTSD. And so, I wouldn't equate what I have to what they have, and any day of the week.
You fuck. You don't believe that PTSD exists outside of the armed forces? You absolute fuck. So, victims of crime doesn't have it? Is that what you're saying? You cunt? Jesus Christ. Yes, we all know PTSD exists in the armed forces, but claiming that that's the only real PTSD? And then you have fat fuck to beside him saying nothing? The licensed drink saying nothing?
But it does give you flashbacks to what the family went through and what they're feeling. And now that it's over, I'm letting myself get a little more emotional about those things, which is not common for me. So I think this case has made me definitely more emotional in that sense. And I think having kids is really what kind of made me more emotional. I think men in general have trouble showing their emotions, and I'm probably not separate from that. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and it's just how you're raised. And so I know this is a lot of rambling, but just to tell you that it's kind of opened me up a little bit, and it is emotional for me to talk about now.
I mean, a lot of this case played out in public opinion. I mean, you know that. It's the reason, again, you sealed the probable cause and you were trying to make sure you had a fair jury.
Yeah, he sealed the probable cause so he could get somewhat of a fair jury. He sealed the probable cause because the probable cause was shit. It was a lie. You lied in the probable cause. The claim about the cars, absolute bullshit. The claim where he was parked, absolute bullshit. The claim about the bullet, absolute bullshit. Even the claim about the 3 girls, absolute bullshit, which McLeland admitted earlier on in the interview. You remember? Rick Allen said he saw a group of 3 girls when he was there, somewhere between noon and 1:30 p.m. In the probable cause, they put in that 3 girls saw Bridge Guy after 1:30 p.m. The reason why they said this was because they didn't took a statement from the 4th girl. That was a group of 4 girls, which you lied about, claiming it was only 3 when you knew it was 4 girls all along. And that is why they sealed the probable cause. Because they had all this narrative out there with Perp Walk, with pictures of Rick Allen, with the narrative of the state. That is why they put seal on everything, including gag orders and everything. It's not because they wanted a fair trial or a jury that was unaffected. It was because they didn't want their narrative destroyed. That's the only reason.
But, I'm a reporter. I'm a former broadcaster, now YouTuber and podcaster. I've covered other murder trials. I've thought this case was actually quite unique, this trial, how much it played out in public opinion with really some extreme sides and vitriol, and even people in the trial court every day sort of taking different sides. And I mean, I don't know if you kept yourself separated from this or how you were able to deal with this, or people were slipping you clips of things, but did this affect you, how much this trial played out in the public with some conspiracy theories, with
conspiracy theories? You mean the theories that the FBI, that conspiracy theory, the FBI-led investigation that led to the Odinist, that led to the 13-page Odinist report, which we still haven't been able to see? That's not a conspiracy theory. That was information this guy, McLeland tried to hide. That is information that Holman, Liggett, the other fuckfaces try to actively hide from the defense and the public. It's not a conspiracy when you are the one hiding information. Everything the defense put forward in the Franks memo is information that was in discovery. Everything. That it's not a conspiracy when you're actually conspiring to hide information, to hide evidence.
Different, people picking sides, picking teams, things like that.
It was definitely unique. I never dealt, none of the trials we have here in Carroll County and other cases get publicity like that. Certainly, I'd never dealt with.
Yeah, maybe it should. Maybe it should. We have one other case in that county that is kind of big. It's the Flora 4, the arson that killed 4 minor black girls. I have the documentation. I got it sent to me. For me, it's obvious who should be charged. It's obvious. But they don't. Allegedly, because the person who is the most likely person who killed the 4 girls through arson is a business owner, and in Delphi, and allegedly also part of the masonry.
With any kind of case that had so much internet publicity, just with YouTube and Reddit and podcasters. So that was all very foreign to me. The fact that so many people wanted to know what was going on was just really foreign to me, because we don't have that. I mean, I have a case Monday in a murder trial. Nobody's called me about that. Nobody's asked me, so it's just very foreign to me.
Again, maybe we should. Maybe we should. But we are just a few people trying to find out the truth. Well, when I say a few, there's hundreds of us trying to put out information that we learn that you try to hide. If I had the time and the finances, I would go through every single case you prosecute, Mr. McLeland. Everything. To see who else are you railroading on behalf of your friends.
Was surprised how passionate people were on one side or the other about things. I am surprised about the amount of threats that I got. I was surprised about the amount of negativity I got from people. I tried to stay away from it.
Don't make threats, folks. Do not make threats, and absolutely do not send them threats. It's counterproductive. We are here to expose them. And every person who sends them threats are a person that takes away from our credibility. So don't do that. Don't give them free ammunition. It's enough that they falsify bullet forensics. Don't give them other ammunition to say, oh, look what they are doing.
The biggest hurdle I had was keeping my family away from it. They kind of got sucked in a few times.
Yeah, don't go after family. Never go after family.
And they were really offended, and just my mom's especially. I mean, imagine how a mother is when somebody's talking bad about their child. And so, she really got affected by it. We'd have several people that would send us clips of stuff, and I would watch them on occasion when I had time, but I tried not to base what I did on public opinion. I tried to base it on what I thought was right for the case. And so, but we did have people sending us clips about things. The one thing I did enjoy is I felt like at the beginning of this that everybody thought I was inept to try this case and that I was the underdog. And I'm okay with being that way. I like being that way, frankly.
Who the fuck thought he was an underdog? No. Us calling you a moron has nothing to do with you not being able to prosecute.
People underestimate me. I like people think that, I don't know what I'm doing. I think that.
Oh, we definitely do not underestimate you. We know how much you're capable of when it comes to hiding stuff from the defense. We are in perfect understanding what you are capable of. in being unethical, immoral. We know that. We've known that for years.
That lets them let their guard down a little bit and maybe not prepare as much. And so I kind of like that. But I did, after the fact, I went back and listened to things. I really kind of enjoyed how I was the bad guy off the bat with all the public anyways, because I sealed the PC. So it kind of just snowballed from there to me not being able to try this case because I only tried one murder beforehand, just all these negative things. And then as it goes on, you can see that people some of the podcasters and some of the YouTubers, they kind of switched and said, okay, he knows what he's doing, whatever. So I didn't get.
We knew, a lot of us, almost all of us, knows that you know what you're doing. That's the problem. You knew exactly what you were doing when you railroaded.
Sucked into it too much. I did watch some clips that people would send me of your show, of the murder sheet, of Bob Mata, all those kind of people. They would send me that stuff. I'd watch clips, but I tried not to let it sway my opinion. But it definitely was something foreign to me for sure, because no other. So
people sent you clips of people who agreed with you. Yeah.
Case I'd ever had this kind of publicity.
So someone did send you a clip. Which one? Oh, go ahead, John.
I just want to jump in and say, for all the doubters and the haters, you proved them wrong. And you did.
Oh, really? Fat fuck. McLeland proved us wrong? When? You, McLeland, Gould, the court, the prosecution's office, actively have tried to hide things from us after the sentencing for months and months and months, because you're scared of us. You're scared of the information because once the gates are open, we will find out exactly how unethical you are.
Did an exceptional job, so I just want to acknowledge that. So I think you were amazing, and thank you.
I appreciate that.
Aw, can you talk a bit louder, fat fuck? I can't really hear you when you have the entirety of McLeland's cock in your mouth. Can you try to say that without your nose buried up his ass?
Yeah, thank you. So, Lauren,
Yeah.
I don't remember which clip. I just remember when I saw you at the trial and the press conference, I recognized you because somebody had sent me a clip. I can't remember exactly what it was about. It's probably about the Franks memo or the Odinism, if I was guessing, because we got a ton of stuff in about that when that came out.
Okay. And I want to reiterate what John said there. I said this at the beginning of this interview, and I'll say it again. Every attorney in there, I was so impressed with, and I was so impressed with you, and I was relaying that to John. I mean, you guys were everyone.
Shiny face lady, you need to push fat fuck off the side if you're going to gobble down first.
I appreciate
Well done. And it was a fair trial, and the jury
Oh, fuck you.
heard it all, and they deliberated for days.
Yep.
And they came to their
I mean,
decision.
a great jury. I mean, I've never had such inquisitive questions from a jury like we did with this jury. And they were detailed questions, and they were educated questions. And you could tell they were really paying attention to what each side was doing and each side was presenting. And so, really thanks to the jury for hanging in there through 3 weeks of trial, and then not going right back and making a hasty decision, actually go through the evidence and make a decision and give it the time that it deserved.
Yeah. Look, this is something I want to ask. Forgive me for asking this question, and actually probably gonna laugh at me like, this is it? This is what you're gonna ask?
Okay.
But how tall was Bridge Guy? Because this will not end.
We have had enough of amateurs going through this. We have AI trying to do this, and almost everybody is around 5'10". Nobody's below 5'8". And it would only have cost them 10 grand to find out. Even though it says, oh, it's a 2-inch discrepancy. Yeah, but if they say 5'10", plus minus 2 inches, it's still 5'8" to 6 feet. Not 5'4".
And Ron Logan is over 6 feet, right? I've been to the bridge. I even had a model who was about 5'9" walk the bridge. Did you guys do measurements? Because that didn't come in trial either, like any, calculations.
I mean, we tried. We even talked to experts, and the answer we always got was, we can't give you an accurate height. It's going to be off 2 to 4 inches one way or the other. And so at the end of the day, we couldn't give a reliable answer.
You didn't do it because you didn't want it, because that would have meant that you had to present it to the defense, which would have caused reasonable doubt. That's why you chose to not do it. Going back to what you said earlier, it was about conviction, getting a conviction in the trial. That's why you refuse to do things that might have spoken against your case. Refused. That is why we still, to this day, haven't. That's why you refused to, up until very close to the trial, you refused to test the hair that was tangled in the fingers. That's why. That's why you, to this day, the unknown male DNA on the victims, it was tested. We know that in somehow, because it wasn't Rick Allen's. But then you refuse because, oh, it is so small, our lab can't do it. There are other labs that can. I've said this a few times in other. There is, in New York, there is a private lab who was able to extract DNA from hair that had been buried for a decade with a decomposing body. And they still managed to get DNA enough for comparison. There is a way if you want it. You didn't want it. The moment you knew that, oh, we really can't put Rick Allen there, then that's the reason you don't want to test anything. Because if you do, it becomes exculpatory. And you will rather tell the jury some bullshit answer to allow the jury to come to a false conclusion. That is not searching for truth. That is, as you said a while ago, that is you trying to get a conviction. And thank you to Sherry Sykes for becoming a member and then gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That is so generous of you. Thank you so much. Let's continue here.
The FBI put on their original.
Oh yeah, this is interesting. Does that look anything like Rick Allen? New murder suspect. Remember where the first picture was, we are looking for this guy. And then all of a sudden you weren't anymore. That person allegedly were cleared. Then you were searching for this youngster in his 20s.
What was it? 5'8" to 5'7", 5'10", 5', I think. But they took that off later. But
see, that was before. I think that was before I was a
before?
prosecutor. I think. I mean, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I can't tell you why they did that. I don't even remember seeing that on the sign. That very well might be, but I just don't remember that.
I always had a question about like facial recognition programs or voice recognition programs. Is that something you guys tried to use? Was the quality of the video not sufficient to use it? Like, what did you tell us a little bit about that?
I know that we tried to clean up the image as best we could. We sent.
You try to clean up the picture as folks. There's nothing wrong with the video. We've seen it. We've seen it. Now, Hella over at Excited Utterance have shown, she did one of the, about a month ago, she did, this is why you can't clean up, because even at the distance, you think you can see something. When you get closer, the pixels only gets larger. The pixels only get larger. And if you try to clean that up, it means that you have to put in information that is not true. That's simply not true. Yeah, keep touching his nose, which Holman says it's a sign of lies and deception.
To several different agencies to say, okay, give us the crispest picture that you can. In terms of face recognition, I can't tell you one way or the other if anybody ever tried that. If they did, they never brought to me and say, hey, we put it in face recognition. We couldn't do it. They may have done it and not been able to do it. Just not told me. I don't remember. With the voice recognition, I just remember briefly one conversation to say, look, there's not enough there for somebody to put this through voice recognition.
Yeah, but you still put a cop up there claiming it was Rick Allen's voice. You still chose to put a cop who has zero education and zero experience in voice recognition to tell the jury that he believed it was Rick Allen's voice. You still chose to do that, knowing it would be false testimony. Because if the leading experts tell you they can't do it, putting up a layman to testify about it is unethical. And you chose to do it because, as you said earlier, you were out to get a conviction.
We all listened to the video hundreds and thousands of times with headphones on, without headphones, on speakers, anything you'd imagine. And we all thought the voice was Richard Allen, especially after listening to all his phone calls. But I don't know if they ever did put it through voice recognition. I just remember a conversation at one point saying, well, it's either not long enough or it's probably not long enough. And so we didn't do it.
Right. You could do it, but it wouldn't be conclusive.
I can't really exactly remember the exact conversation, but you may be right.
Yeah, I thought it sounded like him, for what it's worth.
Of course you do, shiny face lady.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I thought it looked like him too. So
Yeah.
I mean,
And fat fuck. Oh, it looked like him. No, it didn't. Let me. Oh. I will try something here. Now, okay, I will do that. I got an idea here. I will do that for a separate video. Just, well, I will cut in these words, and then, yeah, I will do that separately.
We all did too. And who else would it have been but him?
Well, maybe somebody who were actually there, but you refused the cell tower, the geofencing. That would have shown that Rick Allen wasn't there. You refused that. And this is one of the biggest issues here. If it wasn't him, who then? Well, we don't know because you didn't investigate, or your investigators refused to investigate. You had people there. We know that Ron Logan was close. Now, he's over 6 foot. And here's the thing. We don't even know if Bridge Guy had anything to do with this, folks. He might have been a person who just walked by and then was clever enough to not phone himself in.
right.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's the question. We can argue about whether it sounded like him, whether it looked like him. At the end of the day, answering that question, who else could it have been?
Exactly.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, we don't know who else it might have been because your investigators refused. They cleared a lot of people on absolute horseshit. Absolute horseshit reasons. They cleared other people by gut feelings. They cleared Kathy Shanks. Cleared Ron Logan despite the evidence against him. And Ron Logan's or Kathy Shanks' daughter is honor bound to Ron Logan. The same woman who then magically finds Rick Allen's phone-in tip. Magically.
You know, so sitting in the gallery every day in trial, I couldn't always see Richard Allen because he sat straight ahead. So I could see him when he turned his head, right? I could see certain things, but I couldn't always see him. And there were a lot of discussions after about how he would roll his eyes or some of his reactions during trial, but I was not able to see all of those, and neither was the public. Can you share a little bit about what you noticed Richard Allen was doing? Would we in the gallery could see?
Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot for you. As you remember, that gallery, or the well, we call it, above the bar, it was very packed. We were crunched in there, and I had Jerry Holman right beside me, who's a big man, and so he blocked a lot of my view of Richard Allen. Now I would be able to see Richard. We kind of played musical chairs in the sense that I thought it was important for whoever was doing the questioning would sit in that first chair, so they had a better view of the witness, the TV. And so between Jim Luttrell, Stacey Dean, and I, we kind of switched chairs, and there'd be a time I'd be at the end of the table. And the only thing I noticed is I think what everybody else noticed is that he would have a tendency to look at you and not to, I hate to use the word stare, but stare at you an uncomfortably long time and not really divert his gaze at all. And it was kind of something he did with a lot of people. I don't know why, maybe better question for John, but I got in the habit of just doing it right back to him until he would, kind of not look at me anymore, because he would do that. And I saw him doing it to a bunch of people. Again, I don't know why he would do it, but that is kind of the behavior I saw. The rest of the time when I was in that first chair, I can't even see him. I got Jerry Holman sitting right beside me. There's two officers behind Richard Allen. And again, I'm pretty laser focused on watching the jury and watching my witness. I will look at the judge because I want to see her reaction, but my big thing in a trial is you got to read the room. That is huge to me. And so I spend the majority of my time trying to watch the 12 to 16 people in the box, also watch the judge and see her reactions, and then pay attention to the witness too. So I think it's important to make eye contact with the witness to make them feel as comfortable as possible.
Maybe he did all of that because he's very, very unwell after that absolutely horrific torture you put him through. Maybe it was involuntary because his body and mind was so broken down after the so-called treatment, after the psychosis, after the solitary confinement, with people screaming at him, with the Odinist guards guarding him, and Dr. Walla coercing him to testify. Maybe he was simply beyond help, broken down.
So that's a long answer to say I didn't see much.
Yeah, fair enough. Any thoughts, John? Or
I mean, without being there, it would be difficult to assess. But the staring could be some type of attempt to intimidate, or it could be some.
Oh, you fat fuck! You unethical fat fuck! This is a licensed drink. I hope to all the almighties that he does not have any clients.
Type of power play. I don't know. It's hard to know for sure.
I mean, that was my thought, and that's why I wasn't going to let him intimidate me, and so I just stayed right back at him to try to, I guess, deflect his intimidation, or maybe intimidate him a little bit. I don't know, but my thought was it's a way of trying to, intimidate me, because I did have reports that he said a lot of stuff, but he didn't like me and those kind of things, and so.
well, he shouldn't like you.
I don't disagree.
It would be strange if he did like you. So
I don't think you guys weren't meant to be besties.
That's right.
Since trial, the defense has released some things, including someone named Ricky Davis, an inmate who has claimed Ron Logan confessed to him before Ron Logan's death. Ron Logan is dead, so he can't say, oh yeah, I confessed to Ricky Davis. But Ricky Davis is saying this happened. And since that time, Ricky Davis
told this while Ron Logan was still alive. He wrote letters that the prosecution, Mr. McLeland here, tried to hide from the defense, and did hide from the defense until after trial.
This is also saying that Ron and Keegan were involved together. Any thoughts on this?
The defense had every opportunity to call whoever they wanted to at trial. They had every opportunity to call whoever they wanted at the 3 day.
Oh, fuck you. You are lying again. No, they did not have that opportunity because Judge Gull said no third-party culprit. You lying sack of shit. I mean, I understand the white lies, but this is an absolute lie, a provable lie, Mr. McLeland. They couldn't call whoever they wanted because Judge Gull denied them the right for a third-party culprit because she claimed there were no nexus. Even though two confessions, other than the false from Mr. Allen, So, unknown DNA together with a person who claimed he spat on the victims. I mean, still, she found no nexus. So no, Mr. McLeland, you lying sack of shit. They weren't allowed to call Ricky Davis because they were not allowed to put up a third-party culprit defense. Yeah. Gull denied the FBI guy testifying remotely. And Nick opposed it.
Day hearing to promote their third-party motive. They have to play by the rules of evidence, just like I do.
It's so convenient that Judge Gull was on your side, that she did more of a prosecution of the case than McLeland did. This is why it's taken me this is the fourth analysis. Well, analysis. I'm barely analyzing this. It's just calling bullshit out. But this is why it's taken me 4 attempts to go through this absolute pile of garbage. Because not only do I know, it's not even a theory that McLeland is lying, but when he says things like this, it's a provable lie. There was not an even play field here. Never was.
And so they're bound by those. And so they had an opportunity at least to call Ricky Davis at the 3-day hearing to see if a third-party motive could come in. It did not come in by Ron Logan or Kagan Klein or the Odinism. And so now to throw that in after the fact, I'm not sure what the strategy is there. I'm not sure I agree with it, but it is something they filed.
Because all of it were denied, and that is an appellate issue. It's that easy. You claiming you don't know why is just as much garbage as the rest of it.
State does not give any weight to what Ricky Davis says. If you do, then Ron Logan, Kagan Klein, and Richard Allen committed the murders. And that's what he says.
But that's still exculpatory. That's still a claim that needs to be investigated, because you charged him as the sole killer. So even if Ricky Davis says he believed that Rick Allen was the third unknown guy, still means there were 2 active killers and a third guy that you could have investigated, and you chose not to because, as you said earlier, you're out for a conviction of Rick Allen, and then you can't have things like other people confessing in. Not even if, and I believe Ricky Davis said after everything, he no longer believed that Rick Allen was the third guy. Yeah, that's not what's in the letters, but so yeah, another pile of bullshit from Nick McLeland.
According to Ricky, yeah.
You can't pick and choose. I believe what he says here, but not here. You can't do that. And just to remind everybody, if you're out for reasonable doubt and your entire case is that Rick Allen did it all by himself, then bringing in evidence of 3 people doing it, which is much more probable, 3 guys holding down 2 girls. But no, you'd have to have the conviction of 1 guy and 1 guy alone, and that's why you wouldn't bring it in. The defense is now going with the theory that Ron Logan, Kagan Klein, and Richard Allen did it, or Richard Allen somehow.
That's false, and you know it, Mr. McLeland. Now you're lying again. You're lying again.
I didn't do it. Then what happened to the Odinism? Was worth a 136-page memorandum. What happened to that?
Thank you. That was exactly what I thought when I got that. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "Wait, they've been screaming from the rooftops that it was Odinist."
Well,
but now it's on.
What makes you believe, shiny face lady, lying cunt, fat fuck, that one theory doesn't fit with another? What makes you believe that? That those two? Well, maybe if you had investigated, we would have found out, but you didn't.
Logan?
Couldn't,
Pick one.
couldn't those three have been Odinists? I know Richard Allen wasn't connected to Odinism, but their argument could be that they were all
It
Odinists.
absolutely could be. But I go
The
back to
Sasquatch and the alien.
well, I go back to you can't put Ricky Davis on as a reliable
Fuck
witness
you,
who
shiny
has
face
implicated
lady.
your client. That seems counterintuitive to your end goal.
Right. For everyone to know, he's also said Richard Allen was a part of this.
Right.
Which, by the way, of those three, one's deceased, and the other two is Keegan Kline still in prison?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
As
so
is-
two of them are already incarcerated. So in a peculiar sense, that would mean that the justice has already been served.
Yeah. And
So are you serious? No justice haven't been served just because Ron Logan is dead and Keegan Kline is in prison. No justice isn't served because Rick Allen is in prison.
I don't disagree with that analysis. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know why the defense did that. Don't give any weight to what Ricky Davis said. Those letters that he sent came in during the trial. So if I'm honest, I didn't look at the letters till after the trial. The first letter comes in.
He's admitting to Brady violation. He knew the letters came in, but he didn't check them out until after. That's a Brady violation. He admits to a Brady violation.
In October 4th, I'm prepping for jury selection for the biggest trial of my life, and so I don't even see those things until after, and then the other two come in during the trial. I don't have time to look at that stuff, and
So you ignore them and didn't hand them over. That's a Brady violation. It doesn't matter if you do something or not. The state is the state is the state. It doesn't matter if you didn't want to look at them. It was in the state's hands. Before trial, it has to be turned over. But thank you for admitting on an interview on that Brady violation.
focused on the task at hand. And so that's the other reality is I didn't look at him until after trial. So he brought it up and I said, okay, where are they at? Let's look at them. Well, what do you mean? They're implicating Richard Allen too. I don't understand how this is important. So
Or how it exonerates their client.
Anything else, John, that you want to ask?
No, I think we covered a lot. I don't want to keep Nick too long here.
you guys are fine so far.
Is there? Let me ask you, Nick. Is there something else that you want to talk about? I mean, the gag order affected you too. Your gag order was your fault, but it had to have been hard. You kept it. And here's your chance.
Yeah, no, there's not really anything.
You already had the information out. All you needed that was to have a gag on the defense. That's all you needed. You already had the story out. And you were desperate in keeping it that way.
I want to say I kind of just let my actions speak for themselves, and I think our
It
performance
does.
at the trial, performance is probably not the right word, but the way we presented this case, I think that speaks for itself. And so I agree the gag order affected me, and there were times that I wanted to yell from the mountaintops, you got it wrong, or wait till you hear this side of the story. But
If you really wanted to, you could have filed for an ungag order, and you didn't.
I was just so adamant about not doing that because I wanted to present everything in a trial, in a courtroom. I was just really adamant about that. I think this case opened itself up to a tainted jury in so many ways because it was so publicized across the state of Indiana, across the U.S., across the world. I mean, and so I was really adamant about trying to make sure that everybody had a fair trial. It was really, really
You had zero interest in a fair trial. Lying cunt.
important to me. I do this job because I believe in the system, our judicial system. If you don't believe in it, you shouldn't be in this job. And so I hold that sacred.
I agree. He doesn't believe in the system because he did everything in his power to cheat the system, and he shouldn't have this job. Hi, Sleuthy.
I hold my actions as professional sacred. And so it's just really important to me to make sure that everybody had a fair footing in the trial. We're obviously bound by the rules of evidence and all those kind of rules that come into play, a procedure in the courtroom. And so it was difficult, but I don't have really anything I want to say. I think what we presented at the trial was the truth. And I think that came out. And
No, it wasn't. You presented the things you believed would lead to a conviction. Now, not unusual. What's unusual here is the Brady violations. What's unusual here is in my opinion, the ex parte meetings you had with Judge Gall. What's unusual here is your investigators actively hiding evidence from the defense. What's unusual here is, to the extent everybody from Holman and his use of the Reed technique, the prison system, the psychosis, how so many people with a common interest in, please, we need to convict this guy, came together in one fundamental fuster clock. What was presented at trial was nowhere near the truth. You said it yourself, remember, in the first fourth of this interview, when you corrected Shiny Face Girl on three girls seeing a bridge guy, and Rick Allen seeing 3 girls, that means he's bridge guy, and you corrected her. No, it was 4 girls. They just didn't took a statement from the 4th girl. That was a lie you told through the affidavit and in trial.
I'd just like to leave it at that, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. You've been on both sides, defense and prosecution, which I've already mentioned. You said you would have done things differently. I just have to ask, is it common for, and maybe it is, defense attorneys to sort of continue?
What is Nexus? A Nexus is something that shows a connection between the one event to another. That's a nexus. It's a passage, a thing that can make you draw a conclusion or at least an inference of, as in, does a confession tell you from a third party tell you that there might be a third party culprit? Does unknown male DNA on the victims tell you that the guy who said he spat on the girls, does that make a connection? So Nexus is just another legal way to say it's connected enough for, in this case, a third-party culprit defense. And Judge Gall, for her, other people confessing and unknown male DNA on the victims was not enough. And I believe Andrea Burkhardt said it is actually written in Indiana statute that confessions are enough for Nexus.
On sort of like playing out these different reasons from Ricky Davis to Ron Logan to others after a conviction? Is it
No, it's not, but this case isn't common either. And so you've got to kind of take that into context as well. And I don't fault the attorneys for doing anything they did. I mean, you've got to represent your client zealously, and we're all professionals. I don't agree with the way they did some of the things and some of the things they put in the motions, some of the personal attacks. I don't think those are appropriate in motions. And I got sucked into that on some of my responses. I won't lie. It's hard not to when somebody attacks you.
When you for years hide evidence, and especially exculpatory evidence from the defense, things tend to get personal. It's not the defense fault. You try to have them kicked out from the case, and you succeeded. The Indiana Supreme Court said, fuck you, they're coming back. And even the hand-picked attorneys, remember, the hand-picked attorneys that Judge Gall provided to Rick Allen, they got 2 months looking through the evidence. One of them was on an interview saying he agrees with the defense they had. Third-party culprit Odinism. Even the guys she hand-picked agreed. So it's not just the 2 original attorneys for Rick Allen. It's 2 pairs of attorneys that agreed on this. if that doesn't tell you anything, I mean, it's
you want to do this kind of tit for tat thing. And so I did get sucked into that a few times, and I'm as at fault as much as they are. And so I don't really fault some of the motions they filed. I think the motions they filed, some of them are appropriate. The content of those motions, that's where kind of I think it went away from what we're used to as professionals, as being a lawyer in terms of a motion. Usually a motion from a lawyer to the court is very sterile. Here's the legal facts. Here's why I want it kicked out. Here's my law case, or my case law to support it. Here's my summary. We don't get in those. And I felt like a lot of their motions got into emotions and into personal attacks and into blaming people and accusing people of things. And so I didn't agree with that. But again, they had to do what they felt was best for their client. And that's what our system requires. And so I don't have to agree with it. I'm on the opposite side. We're opposition for a reason. And so all I can say is I just didn't agree with everything they put in their motions.
I respect that.
I'm also not going to talk bad about, I respect the profession. They had to do what they think they had to do. And so it is what it is.
It is what it is. Absolutely.
What about your thoughts on it? It sometimes feels like they're still trying the case in public post-conviction.
I think that's, in my opinion, that's what's happening. They couldn't get.
Yes, because Rick Allen has a constitutional right to appeal. So of course, this case is still being tried in the public opinion. And also, we are just recently finding out things that were in evidence, as in the 43-second video. And now all of a sudden, not a few days ago, we got 100 pages of expense reports that Judge Gull either denied or approved. I have a video out on one of them. If I have the time during Easter, I will go through all 100 pages with you guys and give my opinion on some of them. And yeah, it's some of them are not as obvious, but some of them are also obvious about Judge Gull's bias.
Get past the third-party motive, and so in an effort to put this new theory out to the public, they put it in a motion to correct error. So I agree with you. I don't agree with that tactic. He's got an appellate attorney, 2 appellate attorneys now. Let the appeals process go through that process, and let's get through that and see what the court.
They have to put in that order of correction of errors, because if they don't, it's gone. And here, Mr. McLeland is saying, "Oh, they are doing something wrong." No, they are doing something they are obligated to do.
Of Appeal says, depending on how they rule, I hope that settles a lot of things, and we can kind of move on to the next step. So I didn't agree with trying to promote this theory, after the fact. You had an opportunity to call people. You had your chance.
Oh, fuck you. You know that's a lie. They didn't get the opportunity because you and Judge Gull made sure they couldn't. That's not fair trial. And folks, even though there are so much crap in this case, getting an appeal is really hard. Even though we know that there's nowhere near enough. The moment of sentencing, the moment the jury came back with a guilty verdict, Rick Allen is presumed guilty. Everything that is brought in the appeals court to the appeals court is in the light of Rick Allen being guilty. So even though we might feel, we might know, has very little to do with what the appeals court will do. Does he have a better than average chance? Maybe. Maybe not. We don't know what the appeals court will say about. What it speaks in favor is that the Indiana Supreme Court already ruled against Judge Gull and her conduct regarding how she threw Rick's lawyers out.
For whatever reason at the time, you didn't do that. And so, he has appellate attorneys now. Let the appeal process work its way through the system.
Well said. And we will. We'll let it work its way out. Thank you so much, Prosecutor McLeland. Thank you so much for being here with us. And until next time, we'll see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. That was the entirety of the interview. We got through it, and now we have to wait and see if this stream will get copyright claimed and taken down. If it is, I'm going to edit as best as I can to put it out as a video. Or you can go over to Rumble and watch it there. For me, it is obvious that I am well within the fair use doctrine. Well within. But yeah, this was the fourth and final part of my analysis of Shiny Face Lady, Liar McLeland, and Fat Fuck. When will I do the interrogation? I don't know. For me, the interrogation doesn't change anything. We already knew this. It might have become more apparent what Holman does, what Liggett did, how unethical that is, in my opinion. The re-technique should be banned completely, everywhere. The re-technique only is accepted in the United States because the US Supreme Court decades ago said that it is okay for cops to lie to suspects. I think it's horrible, absolutely horrible, and I think it should be reversed. But that's the reality we have now. But for me, the video doesn't change anything. And so it would feel more like a grift. And I don't like that. For many, I don't blame anybody for doing it. Not in one bit. I have the interrogations, the unedited, unaltered interrogations is on my channel for anybody to use if you feel like it. But I know, for me, it doesn't really change anything. It really doesn't. Because it would be obvious what my opinion is. And for me, it's much more interesting to go through and explain the expense reports. Because I think I can add value to it in explaining those. So, yeah, over here where I am, it is 10:30 p.m. and I have work tomorrow. On Monday, I don't know. I might check if it's a verdict watch in the McIntyre, the TK-47 trial. We continue with the verdict watch. And Lynn GMB, when did he say he saw a van? Allegedly, he said that to Dr. Walla. But we also know that it's impossible for him to have seen the van at or before 2:32 p.m. because it wasn't there until 2:44 p.m. So we know that. The van didn't show up near the crime scene until after the prosecution claims Abby and Libby were dead. So that's the one. That's the one thing that they said that only the killer would have known. Yeah, it turns out it was a lie as well. But folks, thank you for showing up. Thank you for allowing me to do this. If you have a problem with my curse words, tough. Eat some concrete and harden up. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to do this. Thank you for the gifted memberships. Sherry Sykes, who also became a new member. Thank you so much. Helping me to the things, the ads and the things and the super chats and the gifted memberships is what funds my trip to the United States. I will be in Utah from September 3rd to September 17th. And I will be in Miami from September 17th to September 24th. So, yeah. So thank you for helping me with that. Thank you. And remember, folks, don't give up on Rick Allen, because the prosecution, George Gull, are still hoping we will grow tired of it. I think we have proven, many of us, that no, we won't. Thank you. Have a good one, and I will see you tomorrow for Verdict Watch. All right. See ya. Bye-bye.